Welcome back, casual gardeners. Today is all about my greenhouse. It's been 2 years and I finally have the greenhouse that I've always wanted. So watch me goof around in the greenhouse, sometimes with a thermal camera. Let's just get into it. Now, I've already done 2 videos about this greenhouse, so we're not going to go into a lot of details about the kit that I got. I got the kit online from Costco for $1,300. It's still there on the website. I'll link to that down in the description. It's still $1,300. So if you like what you see, that's how you can get it. This is a Palram Canopia Balance 8-foot series greenhouse. This particular greenhouse is 8 feet wide and 12 feet long. Now, the kit itself included 2 manual roof vents and a double door, which is behind the camera from this angle. You saw that at the start of the video. The walls of the greenhouse were originally single ply polycarbonate. The roof of the greenhouse is double ply polycarbonate. The kit does not include a foundation, but the manufacturer strongly recommends one, and so do I, because a lot of the rigidity of the greenhouse and its ability to resist high winds comes from the fact that it is anchored to the ground. Once I had finished building my foundation, putting the kit together only took me about 2 days. That was 2 full days working pretty much by myself. I had to ask for help to do some of the roof stuff because it gets awkward. It took me about the same amount of time to build the foundation because I had to move a lot of earth to level everything out. So that is everything that came with the kit. So next I want to talk about things that I was able to do to improve the kit that were available through Palram itself. It wasn't a lot and I wasn't 100% happy with all of it. I did 2 things right away before I even did any assembly, and I'm kind of glad that I took care of them before I already had my greenhouse up. So the first thing is that I got rid of the manual apparatus for my greenhouse vents, because that was, no, I'm not going to come out here every time I need to heat up or cool down my greenhouse. That's too much work. So instead I've got the automated vents. So these have wax in a little piston. When it heats up, the wax expands and pushes the door open. And then there's a little spring that helps hold it closed. Now, the other modification I made to the greenhouse right off the bat before I even assembled it was I ordered this louvered vent for the wall off of the Palram website. It's crap. I do not approve. These little panels are crap. This also has an automatic opener, so when it gets hot in the greenhouse, the louvered vents open automatically to start allowing air in. We had to come out here because it's no longer visible from inside the greenhouse, and I'll show you why in a little bit. Another selling point in the kit is that it includes gutters that are supposed to help capture rainwater, but these gutters are super narrow, and then these little where you can attach a hose, it's super narrow. There's almost nothing that will not clog your gutter. Don't count on collecting water. It's just a crappy design. There are 2 videos in which I review the greenhouse. So if you're like, wow, that's a pretty snazzy greenhouse and I want one. If you want me to go into excruciating detail on the greenhouse for you, I will link to those 2 videos in the description as well. There are also quite a few modifications to the greenhouse that I've done that, you know, obviously are not from Palram. First of all, I do have a floor. The kit does not include a floor. I went with loose gravel, and I'm glad it's loose because I would have been able to push it around and level things as needed as I built other stuff in the greenhouse. And then I did bricks down the center for the walkway, just for pretty. Gravel and bricks just happen to be also good thermal mass. On the subject of thermal mass, this was the second big change I made to my greenhouse. I have 5 55-gallon drums full of water along the north wall of my greenhouse. I did wind up resenting the amount of space that these barrels take up because it was all pretty much dead space along this wall, and that's not great because this is just an 8x12 space. So the next thing I did is I assembled this table, and it made life immediately a lot better, because the problem with the barrels is they don't have a flat surface on top. So this I did 2x4 framing and it's just cheap wood. And then I used 5.5-inch wide cedar fence pickets for my top surface, because I expect that this will be periodically exposed to water from, you know, plants. And so I wanted something to be a little bit rot resistant on here. A dear friend gifted me this solar panel. Hi, Chad. So I've just got it sitting up on some cement blocks to lift it up off the ground. I figure it'll make it easier for me to knock snow off it when that's necessary. I've run the wires from the solar panel underneath the foundation and into the greenhouse. Pretty much all of the modifications I'm going to talk about after this were inspired by the fact that I have this solar panel. This is where the power from the solar panel goes. These are two 16-inch radiator fans. I'll put the link to the specific fans I bought in the description of the video. But these run on direct current, which means I was able to directly wire them to the solar panel. And they are 12 amp, 120 volt fans. They actually kick out a little bit of heat when they run. When the solar panel is hit with enough direct sunlight, these just automatically come on and move air around in my space, which is nice. It helps keep things a little bit cooler in the summer and helps distribute warmth in the winter. So the cabinet that the fans are in, it's just a 1/4-inch plywood. Make sure that if you like my idea and you want to do it too, that you wire your fans in parallel and not in sequence. If you wire your fans in sequence and one motor blows out, it might blow out the other motor. But if you wire them in parallel, the load doesn't change as much if one of them blows out, and it's just more better that way, okay? It's a safety thing. Once I had the cabinet for the fans built, I was kind of inspired to create shelf space all along the south wall of my greenhouse and use that as an opportunity to build some storage underneath it, because I lit all this crap. This was all over my greenhouse floor, in my way, making it hard for me to look credible in my gardening videos. So I was like, yeah, let's build storage and more workspace. To construct this, I just used Douglas fir 2x4s again. This is just stud lumber. I went with the cedar fence pickets. This was a choice that I made just to match with the other stuff. I might have used something sturdier for this, that I might have gone more scrap lumbery, but this was purely an aesthetic choice. I like the way this turned out. Then also it gives me a place right here to hang my digital thermometer to monitor temperatures. This is always out of the sun, which is super important. And it doesn't have the same problem I had in my old spot. There is going to be just one more modification I have not made yet, and that is I'm going to be installing a planter with a built-in bench right here where I am, so that I can sit at the end of my tables and enjoy this little climate that I've created when it's enjoyable. Not right now. Right now it's only 40 degrees Fahrenheit in my greenhouse because we have not had sun for several days, and it's the end of December, so not so great. I should probably be wearing a jacket, but it's not as pretty as this shirt, so no. I did learn a few things about my greenhouse and about thermal cameras. Now, one of the things I was hoping to learn with my thermal camera is I was hoping after dusk to go outside and look at the exterior of my greenhouse and see where I'm losing heat. But it turns out that aluminum is thermally reflective, and all of the seams of my greenhouse where a leak would happen just happen to be, you know, right next to aluminum frame. This is the thermometer from my greenhouse. I was keeping it over here along the north wall, and I just made sure there was something in front of it to block the sunlight, because I figured it's insulated along the north wall. So if I just block the sunlight so it's not in direct sun, I'll get reasonably accurate temperature readings. Oops. But the reality is the reflective surface on this insulation actually had it was lensing the heat directly along the back of this bench. I was regularly getting temperature readings in excess of 105 degrees Fahrenheit, which is pretty high, higher than I want for potted plants because it means I will have to water them way too often. Well, now at least I know where there's a warmer microclimate that I can take advantage of when the sun is low in the sky. So that was educational. But that's not all I was able to see with my thermal camera and show you. I thought it was really just kind of neat to see how much cooler the water barrels along the north wall are during the day. So I've got, I took video at 3 different time points during the day at peak temperature and peak insolation. At dusk and after dusk, you can see that the barrels become warmer than the ambient temperature inside the greenhouse. They're actually releasing their heat, which is exactly what you want a thermal mass to do. I wound up being really quite surprised by how efficient a thermal mass the potted plants that I have in here were. After dusk, they really are kicking out the heat. You can also see in the thermal video that the fans run pretty hot relative to ambient temperature in the greenhouse. During the day, they're a pretty bright spot in the video. At dusk, they're still warm. They're still releasing heat into the greenhouse. And I was surprised, even a couple hours after dusk, they were still hot spots in the video. And one last thing that I saw, which just is cool, I noticed that during the day, the screws in the fence pickets were cold spots and the fence pickets themselves were warm spots. But at night, it flipped and the screws were hot and the fence pickets were cold. What that illustrates is that wood is a good insulator and metal is a good heat conductor. Because what's going on is we're seeing that during the day, the surface of the wood is getting hot, but that heat isn't going all the way through the wood. The screw is losing its heat to the inside of the wood, which is cold, relative to the outside of the wood, which is warm. And so the screw appears cold, even though the coldness that we're seeing is the coldness of the inside of the wood. And then at night, when it flips, what we're seeing is that the exterior of the wood has cooled off, but the interior of the wood is still warm. So wherever it's penetrated by a screw, that screw is pulling heat from inside the wood and releasing it into the greenhouse. So that's me blabbing about the greenhouse. I love this space and I'm super excited to grow some stuff in it finally, to get some proper use out of it. So you can look forward to more videos happening inside the greenhouse, probably starting in February. My next video is not going to be about a greenhouse. My next video is going to be about soil and fertilizer. It's going to be video 2 in the Master Gardener series. Tune in for that. If you grow in soil or use fertilizer, I'll have good information for you. If you like this video, make sure that you hit the like button and then also subscribe to my channel. It'll help me out a ton. If you really like me and you want to support my channel, you can become a channel member. Thank you for joining me here in my greenhouse, in my garden. I hope you have a wonderful time in your own garden.